Welcome to another workshop video from Touro University. We're excited to cover today's workshop that's going to cover designing with intelligence, AI in web development. Please welcome Vyacheslav Slava Katov, who will be hosting today's workshop video.
AI can be very productive and very efficient in use. It can be very valuable assistant to you. That's number one. And number two is that AI is not a substitute for a web developer or a programmer or for any kind of computer science profession at this point. So, and I think both facts are the good news. And we will see why it is so. So let me share my screen first. And let's take a look at what you actually need to start developing a simple web page using the AI system that I was trying to only pick up free tools, nothing that is commercially available only or you can imagine that if we are going into the paid services and paid subscription tools for web development and AI implementation, that would be even more powerful in terms of the assistance provided to the web developer. So if you can see my screen, that you see that the first thing on my screen is the required and optional tools that you need to start developing the web page with the help of AI. So first one is, of course, a web browser. That's where you're going to run and test your web page. So I personally prefer Firefox from Mozilla and Chrome from Google. Basic recommendation is to have as many browsers as you can install on your computer. So because none of them is perfect, and ability to switch between browsers when things are not going the way they are expected to can help you out with a lot of annoying issues. Sake of this presentation, I'm going to use Firefox. ChatGPT or any kind of web-based generative AI platform is also required because that's going to be my assistant, and it has to be generative AI. It can have extra functionality, but it has to have an ability to invent things or generate things because that's what we're going to ask. Now, we also need to provide graphics to our web page, and it can be done many different ways. A web developer can be a good photographer. They can hire photographers. They can use online photo libraries. They can download images from the web as long as that they follow the copyright law, or they can ask AI image generators to generate images for them. So that's going to be our second assistant, the AI-based image generator. And with these tools, we can actually start developing the pages. To make things a little bit easier, we can also use a free software called Notepad++ for our HTML and CSS files, and any kind of the clipboard management that can remember multiple copy-paste sessions so that you can reapply those quickly next time is also very helpful. And I personally use clip system, but some people prefer others. Windows 11 also has its own multi-clip copy and paste functionality, but you have to turn it on manually for that to work. Another thing I'm going to do to make life easier is to create a folder on my desktop where I'm going to store all my files, including HTML file, the CSS file, images, and any other supplemental material. So let's call that folder Web AI Development. So the better organized you are, the easier for you to do the work, right? So I'm going to pin it to the quick access so I can easily get that folder when I need to. I'm going to place it right here on the top. So the folder is currently empty. Every time you deal with a generative AI system, it's very important for you to know how to talk to it. Talking to the AI is called prompting, and AI prompting is becoming its own profession. And more proficient you are in AI prompting, the better it can assist you, the better result you're going to get. So therefore, one of the ways to do that is to let AI know which role it's supposed to play during that session with you, during your prompting. So you have to give it an idea what you're trying to act as a web developer, or you can offer AI to act as a web developer. This is very good start for prompt. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go to my ChatGPT, type the following. I want you to act as a skilled web developer. I want you to create a website for Burger Hut. Give me a structure of a creative landing page. I clearly tell the ChatGPT which role it's supposed to play. I can go without this sentence, but the results are better if I do it that way. Then I give AI system the idea what it is I'm trying to create. And then I ask it a very specific thing, right? I'm going to ask one thing at a time. I don't want to put the entire task description on the top of the AI system. I do things gradually. So if you can remember this formula, that would be great. So offer it a role to play, give it a general idea what you're trying to accomplish in the end, and give it a very specific task to start. And that's exactly what these 3 sentences actually do, okay? So I'm going to send it to ChatGPT, and the first thing it's going to do for me is to give me a plan of actions, basically description of my web page in a plain text format. So there are certain things we need to understand here, but not much. The only thing that I would pay attention at this point is that hero section. A hero section is usually interpreted as the header section. Sometimes it's called header section, but hero is another term for the same thing. It's the very top header section of my future web page, which will most likely contain a large logo or a big graphic in the background and a navigation structure, buttons or drop downs for the menus to navigate to the other portions of my website. So the other things here are pretty self-explanatory. For example, about, accommodations and amenities, activities and experiences, and so on and so on. I don't have to actually stick to all of them. For example, maybe I don't want reviews and testimonials, or I don't want location and map. So this is just like a draft of my future web page. So the next thing I'm going to ask the system is to actually write a code for me, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to talk to ChatGPT by using the appropriate prompts. And this is the first reason why I actually need to know what I'm doing, because I need to ask the proper questions. For example, right here, I'm asking, write the HTML and CSS codes for a header section using a dark theme. Why it's dark theme? Because that's just I prefer the dark theme. But I'm going to modify that prompt a little bit. I know that my header section is called hero. That's what ChatGPT actually decided to call it. I'm going to remove that word header with the word hero. And I also want HTML and CSS files to be separate files. And sometimes it does it without asking. Sometimes it puts everything into one file, into one page. It becomes difficult to manage. So I'm going to modify my prompt by saying write HTML, write separate HTML and CSS codes for the hero section first, right? So the hero section is right here. And now I needed an HTML and CSS form. So I'm going to send it to ChatGPT, and it's going to generate the code. Now, you should always treat that code as a rough draft, because it might not be exactly what you expect. It might contain coding errors. And for that reason, again, it cannot substitute you as a programmer or web developer. You need to really understand the code and correct it or modify it as necessary. And you can only do that when you know the code. Therefore, I only use ChatGPT or any other AI, generative AI system as a helper or assistant to make things faster and not to replace me as a programmer. So now I need to create two files. One, it will be having extension HTML, and copy and save that HTML code in that file. And I'll create a second file called styles.css and copy this code into that file. So the HTML will give me a very basic web page view and look, and CSS will make it visually appealing and will rearrange buttons and menus on the screen for better navigation and view by the end user. All right, so let me do that. I'm going to copy HTML code. And as I said before, I will use Notepad++ software, which is a plain text editor, but has much more than just plain text. So I'm going to paste the HTML code, and I'm going to save it in our folder that we created for this workshop. And I'm going to make sure that it's called index.html. Because I have a lot of index files already, I prefer to give it some kind of unique name by adding, let's say, numbers. Let's call it index345.html. And I can test my HTML code already without even applying CSS styles file, right? So as I promised to, I'm going to do it Firefox browser. Here's my Firefox browser, and I will simply drag and drop that file into the browser. So, and it should open the file for me. As you can see, I have my first page, right? It's not impressive. It looks very simple, but that's what HTML does. It can do a better job. Even though I already have here the header, I have some kind of the slogan or phrase that provides an impact on the end user, and I do have the menus: book your stay, explore the hut. So I can improve it in many different ways. But it's always a good idea to test your HTML code first to make sure it works at all. So next, I'm going to make it look a little bit prettier by copying the CSS code, going back to the Notepad, creating a new file, pasting what I copied, and saving it as styles.css. And that's going to be also saved in the same folder. Let's now see, and notice that Notepad++ actually keeps my index file open, and created a new file for this CSS styles as a separate tab. So it's very convenient for me to switch back and forth. It's kind of regular Notepad in Windows 11, but it's so much better in many. So let's see what's going to happen now. I'm going to come back to my Firefox browser and click on update button, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Well, this is the reason why I need to be a programmer and understand the code so I can troubleshoot. As you can see, the AI didn't do the perfect job. In other words, my HTML file does not see my styles file. So I have to make sure I'll make this connection. So let me see first what was going on there, right? So I'm going to go back to my index file, and I notice that there is no reference anywhere here to my styles.css file at all. So of course it doesn't pick up my file for styles and graphics, simply because I never asked it to do so in HTML code. Right, so these are my menus that you see here, explore the hot, book your stay, and, the titles and subtitles, but that's basically it. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go to the top of my HTML page, and I'm going to write the following statement. I say that there is a style sheet somewhere, and the name of that is styles.css. So as long as I keep both files in the same folder, as you can see over here, it should find that the index file should find the styles file. So let me save it first. Let me go back here and click update. Yes, it did pick up the styles files, and now it introduces a more sophisticated version of the same page that you already saw in HTML format. It's exactly the same thing. It looks much better, okay? And these two menus became buttons, and those buttons, as you can see, are animated. They change the look when I hover my mouse over them. They have a lot of visual and graphic design elements, such as rounded corners, centered text, the outline, and background colors. So all that was created by style CSS file, which I didn't have to type manually. As you can see, that file is pretty long and contains a lot of elements, which you should understand, so you still have responsibility of understanding the code. So I can continue, which I will, but let's take a look at what else we can do. It's very interesting over here that my styles file says that my background is supposed to contain an image, and that's the image name, burger-hot.jpg. I don't have that image. I don't know where the ChatGPT took that name from and why it provides extra folders. So these are the errors. I would call them errors, or maybe you can use them as pointers, as helpers, but they cannot work as is. So I have to do some modification. So number one, I can find an image and replace the name of the image here. That's one method. The second one, I can actually borrow that name and rename my image to that name, so I don't have to modify the code. And that's what I'm going to do. However, I don't have an image, so let me do it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have one of my web-based AI image generators to do it for me. And I really prefer to use deep AI for that purpose. And here's my deep AI free image generator. So in the description, I'm going to write, let's say, burger hot on dark background. And for our purposes, I'm going to make it standard. And because I want it to occupy the entire page because it's a background, I'm going to choose a very wide rectangle shape for my image. And then I'm going to click submit and wait for the image to be generated. If I don't like it, I can regenerate the image. Now, let's supposedly I like that image. I'm going to download it. And as you can see, it has a very weird name. So what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I'm going to move it into our folder. I'm going to click on the image to make sure it actually opens in a media player. And now I'm going to do what I told you before. I'm going to borrow that name, burger-hot.jpg, and rename my image into this name. Also notice that extension here is .jpg, but the extension here is .jpeg. For the HTML page, it will make difference. So I'm going to paste the name and replace JPEG with JPEG. And after I did that, I'm going to double click to make sure my renaming did not destroy the file, did not corrupt the file. So it's still working. And now I'm going to go back to my styles page, and I'm going to remove that extra path from here. And hopefully it's going to work. So everything that I do here is I'm doing it for the first time for this session. So any kind of surprises are possible. So let's see together how it works, right? So make sure it's saved. And let's go back to our Firefox where we do the testing and refresh the page. And here we go. And here we go. So it works, right? So now I have it in the background. I might like it and keep it, or I might not like it and repeat the whole session of image generating the image, renaming the image, renaming the file extension, and then refreshing the page. So my next step will be to create a second page, right? Let's create 2 more pages, or maybe 3 more pages as the time allows, and see what other issues we can actually might face, right? So I'm going to go back to my ChatGPT at this point and go back to our plan that was created by ChatGPT. So another section here is about the HUD, accommodations and amenities, and let's see what it says here. Book your stay, explore the HUD. Okay, so I want the about the HUD to be second section, and I want this button to say about the HUD. So I'm going to go back to my HTML index and rename it here about the HUD, right? Save it and make sure it works. Now it says about the HUD, and accommodations and amenities is going to be the next one. So I'm going to go back to my HTML, and instead of explore the HUD, accommodations. Save it and test it by refreshing the page. Okay, so now it's about the HUD and accommodations. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate HTML and CSS code for about the HUD, and then for accommodations. And right, so let me do that. As you can see, I'm using the multi-clip editor here so that I can quickly insert the same commands or prompts, just make necessary modifications. Okay, and here we go. HTML code is ready. I'm going to copy the code, go back to my index file, and paste the code just below the first one. Save it and test it with my Firefox. And here we go. About the Burger Hut is ready. Well, it doesn't look pretty, of course, it's just HTML as we did before. So now I'm going to go and copy the CSS code and of the previous code and save it and test it. Okay, so now about the Burger Hut looks much better. I have an extra button, reserve your stay. I have a placeholder for the image, and it all looks good. However, let's see if there is a connection between the first page and the second page. Remember, when I click about the HUD, it should take me to this section or page about the HUD, and it's not the case. I keep clicking, nothing happens. Well, again, just another confirmation that I need still to be able to code myself and understand the code. Because now I can go back to my HTML and CSS and fix that, right? So let me take a look what I can do where the problem is. Here's the problem, right? So the header, the hero section says that when somebody clicks on about the hot, it should take them to the booking page. But I don't have a booking page. I have about page. The ID, that what I creates that link between the hyper reference and the section name. I can actually copy and paste or just type it over about and save it and refresh it and click about the hot. And as you can see now, it takes me to that page. Okay, accommodations is too early to test because we don't have that page yet. And that's what we are going to do next. Back to ChatGPT, modifying my prompt. And what I want to do, I want to take exactly the name of that section from that my first prompt result. And wait for the HTML and CSS codes to be generated. So I can copy HTML again. Make sure I'm pasting it at the bottom of existing HTML code, save it, test it, and here it is, accommodations and amenities. Looks nice, but everything is a plain text format right now. So back to ChatGPT, and I'm gonna copy the CSS code, and I'm gonna go to CSS page, paste it at the bottom, save it, test it in Firefox. Oh, it did a lot of work for me. So first of all, it created the image placeholders. As you can see, when I move my mouse over those placeholders, they're actually going up and down, so they are animated. So that's what the job that CSS did. And all three accommodations and amenities work exactly the same way, meaning that ChatGPT did not make any error at this point. However, again, if I click on accommodations button, it takes me somewhere. I'm not really sure where it takes me. So I have to dial. It looks like it takes me to the same about page, which is not correct. And again, because I know the code, I can go back and fix it, right? All right, so let's see again, going back to the top, to the hero section. Right, so accommodations, yeah, of course it takes me to the same page. So what's the name of my new page? My new page name is accommodation. You have to always look under ID, not under class. Accommodation. All right, so let me replace it over here. All right, I'm gonna replace it over here. Save it, refresh, and click on accommodations. Something is not working. Should take me to the second accommodation. So maybe I misspelled it. Yes, I did. Double M. Refresh, and now it works. About the hot takes me to about page. Accommodations take me to accommodations and amenities. All right, so let's say that I'm not really happy with this header or hero section design because I don't have enough buttons. Remember, ChatGPT promised me to create so many menus. Like how many of them? Not like 8 of them plus footer. But so far I only see 2, right? So how about activities and experiences? Okay. So again, because it did not generate HTML code in the header for that, I'm going to manually do that. In other words, I'm going to add an extra button over here in the header section, and then I will ask ChatGPT to generate the HTML and CSS codes for that page where that button is going to be linked. So far, we had buttons already. We just didn't have pages, but now we don't even have a button anymore, right? So I'm going to go back to the header section, and I will simply copy the previous line because I know that's what creates those buttons or menus. And I'm going to call it, let's say, activities, and that's going to be called activities. So the user save it, refresh, and here we go. We have a button. It doesn't link anywhere yet, of course, because I do not have that page. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to generate for me, right? So back to ChatGPT, and we are going to use the same prompt, write HTML and CSS codes for the activities and experiences page. And again, just in case, I will add word separate and send it. So the HTML code is done. I'm going to copy it, paste it into my index file, save it, and test. Always, always, always test your HTML code first. And here we go, activities and experiences. Here's the page. Looks simple, looks primitive, but that's all we need from HTML. The rest is going to be taken care by the CSS. Back to ChatGPT, copy the CSS code, back to my style.css file, paste the code, save it. Again, if I click on activities, it does work because ChatGPT accidentally provided the proper section ID that matched the one that I created myself. Remember when I copied and pasted? So therefore, there is a connection right there. But if there is no connection, it could be two issues. Either the section ID in the header and an actual section are different, or sometimes a section ID is completely missing. So I'll show it to you. So sometimes you will see the code like this. There is no section ID, and that's going to work. In terms of the page will be still displayed on the screen, but there is no way to connect to it anymore. So sometimes that's the problem. And then all you need to do is to manually write the command ID equal, and then repeat or copy and paste the name of the section as it appears in a navigation menu over here. And then you will have connection. So I'm going to save it again, refresh, and make sure everything is connected. And now I'm going to actually ask the AI image generator to generate a couple of images for me. Of course, I need one image over here in the About section. I need 3 images in accommodation page. I need 4 images in activities and experiences. So it's going to take some time, but it's going to be exactly the same process. So I'm going to demonstrate on a couple of times so that you will get a good idea. So what I like about it is just it actually gives me the suggestion what kind of image is supposed to be over here, so that I can take that and bring it to the AI image generator as a suggestion already, so I don't have to invent it. It's already there for me. So let me go to AI image generator, just say Burger Hut interior. But this time I want a square image. I know it's going to work better on my web page. I might like it. If not, I will regenerate it. No, maybe that's better. So I'm going to download it. And remember, we need to place everything into the same folder. So I'm going to place it into our web developer folder. I'm going to change that weird name and extension to something that is already in my HTML page. So I can search for it, for the word interior, and here it is. As you can see, it provides me with the name of that, the suggested name of my JPEG file, and it also has that images / which I need to remove from HTML code. But I can borrow that name, copy this, and rename that file. Make sure it still works after I change the extension. It does. And so that I can now modify again my code to remove that extra line, not the line, extra a phrase, and save it and go back and test my web page. Yeah, it works. And the square format is actually looks very nice in my opinion. And it's also animated. As I move my mouse over, it actually zooms in and out, which is done by the style CSS. All right, so let me do that over here, just one of them. Let's do family room. Again, back to my AI image generator. And this time I want a normal rectangle shape. If I don't like it, I can regenerate by clicking submit again. Let's say I like that one. I'm gonna download it, move it to my web folder, rename it. I need to see in HTML what was the name suggested. Okay, room2.jpg. I need to remove that images /. I can simply retype it, it's not hard. Room2 JPG. Pass your image, sure it's still working, and then go to your page and refresh, right? So something is not working. So let's see what the problem is. Extra space, no? And now it works. All right, and I will continue the same way to build the pages suggested by ChatGPT in the first place when I asked for it. Maybe I will skip some of these pages, maybe not, but eventually I will be able to build my website. Now, if you go back to our index and styles file and just take a look at the volume of the coding that was done for us. That's the index file, and this is the styles file. So then we can probably really appreciate the power of the AI system, but not over-exaggerate its power and importance, because we still need our skills. We still need to be programmers, web developers, and still be able to perform any other function so far, but use this new amazing tools like AI systems to assist us and to make things more efficient, faster, and easier. All right, so I have some questions in the chat. Can you get a better image for Burger Hut that does not look like a burger joint? And you can practice your prompting skills, because anything AI based, right, requires prompting. You need to know how to talk to the system, whether it's ChatGPT or a deep AI, and no matter what it does, gives it the answer or generates the code or generates the image, the proper prompting will produce the better results. And you can use a mix of, you can get some images from here, some images from other sources, and try it more and more, and switch your sources if it doesn't give you the correct, the expected result. So again, that's a good question, because it makes me think about that you should not forget and cancel other methods. You have to keep them and employ the new methods as an additional tools. In other words, if you're a good photographer and you can actually create those photographs yourself, don't give up that skill just because now the AI can do it. So do not replace, do not substitute, just add to your toolbox those new tools and functionality. So you will always have more options and better options. All right, any other questions? Any comments? All right, then that's basically it for this demo session. Again, thank you for joining and enjoy the rest of your evening.